All right, welcome to a Sunday edition of Buck What You Heard, the day after the game. Bucs fans, you can be excited. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers win their first game of this 2016 preseason, winning 27-21 over the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that was quite an interesting game. And I'm joined tonight by the owners of Real Bucs Talk, Michael Pless and Mark, I forgot your last name. Sorry.
It's been a while. Ramirez.
Mark Ramirez. You shoot me for that later. Hey, Mark, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, and tell everybody what you're up to for this football season.
Oh, this football season's all Bucs. It's always all Bucs. But we'll be writing game summaries, everything you can think about Bucs, just covering everything Bucs from injuries, who's having a good week, who's having a bad week, whose cutter's yelling at, everything you can think of about the Bucs. So if you want fresh news about anything related to Bucs news, come look at us, Real Bucs Talk.
All right. And you can reach them on Twitter at Real Bucs Talk. Follow them, and they'll follow you back. And, you know, they're real quick about answering your questions. So any questions you could have, Bucs, they'll be more than happy to get those questions answered. And my second guest, who's been on a couple of times before, Michael Pless. How are you doing this evening, sir? Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, what's up, Buck Nation? Yeah, you can reach us on Twitter, Facebook, at Real Bucs Talk. And again, I'll just piggyback off of what Mark said. Yeah, we're just trying to give something different, something new and fresh perspective on the Bucs. We love talking about every players, and you know, it's going to be fun. We're just excited for the season to get started.
All right. So, you know, as I mentioned with my intro, we're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers facing the Jacksonville Jaguars. The good thing, we got the win. Tampa got the win. Everything worked out. And I kind of want to start on the offensive side of the ball because, well, that's what's kind of concerning to me right now. And I know, let me preface this by saying, folks, the roster is fluid, so anything can change. You're not playing with the same rotation continuously week after week. You have guys vying for jobs. So keep that in mind when you're watching these games, and you can't look at them as real football games where they actually count because there's so many different things going on. There's no game planning. There's game planning but no scheming. I should put it that way. Right. So when you're watching the games, look at the players and the plays they're making, not so much the statistics. So, Mark, I'm going to start with you. What were your takeaways on the offensive side of the ball as you were watching this game?
Okay, offensive side of the ball. Yeah, Winston started, 0 for 6? He didn't look good. He didn't start off like how everyone wanted. But, I mean, if you look at the whole game, what he started, the quarter and a half, 2 quarters he was in, he got better as the game went on. That's how Winston is. That's how we know him as. He's going to get better as the game goes on. But also, he also got people to jump off sides. He was doing his little savvy things he does to win games, the little things that you got to do to win games. He was still doing those things. Over 6, okay, at the end of the game, what's it going to be? Is it going to be like he was 20 for 26, or was he, I don't know, 1 for whatever? But, I mean, it's a preseason game. What can you take from it? He's working out the kinks. They didn't really scheme. It's not like he's doing, oh, let me beat this guy with this guy. He's just learning all, because there was throws he was making that I was like, what was he thinking on that? It was mainly it's because he doesn't care. It's preseason. He wants to win the game, but it's not. This isn't where his money's at. This isn't where he's life or death. He has to go run out there and get that last yard like the Atlanta Falcons game. He's not going to do that in preseason. This is he did what he needed to do just to get his mind right. That's what he's doing. I don't see that as a big major concern at all.
I have to ask this question because I don't know if maybe you guys have heard this. I've heard that Jameis Winston pushes the envelope in practice and in these preseason games to see what he can get away with and see what he can actually do. And sometimes that looks like that was reflected a lot of times during the regular season where he made throws and receivers were catching these balls that normally you wouldn't try to put a ball in where he did. So do you think that's kind of a fair assessment to say that there were some plays that Jameis was putting the ball somewhere where normally he wouldn't do in a regular season game?
I'd run with that. Yeah, I mean, because there was some where it was so 2, 3, at least 3 feet behind the wide receiver. I was like, he would not have thrown that. He would not have made a mistake like that bad in a regular season game. Like there was one Telvin Smith almost intercepted in the first drive, I think it was, where Winston's just like, let me just throw it over there. Let me see if I can make something happen. I mean, it's something he wouldn't have done in a regular season game. He was just testing things out, seeing what he can push, what he can't push. That's how I would come out with it. It's not a major concern.
And fans, that's something that I'm going to preface, my comments with. We have to be patient with this team. And believe it or not, we do have a new head coach. We do have a new culture that they're trying to instill in the locker room. So these things take time. When you look at the Tampa Bay Bucs prior to Dirk Cutter coming in, and you think about what the culture was, you look at Schiano and all the embarrassing things that happened with Schiano Mersa and all the other things that happened in the locker room where there was no continuity in the locker room. Then you go back to Raheem Morris, who did have a 10-win season. I mean, you can go back to John Gruden and just you're seeing the culture in the locker room where it's just not consistent. It's not what you'd want to build a winning program or a winning franchise. Let me just say that. So, that's kind of what I want fans to just kind of be patient with this team. And game 1, September 11th, that's when you start looking at this team and saying, hey, he didn't do this. Or, if you're a stat person, hey, his stats weren't up to par like they were last year, something to that effect. But, in preseason, as I mentioned before, you're looking to see who you're going to keep. You're looking to see if there's somebody you can replace. You're looking to get the best team you can on the field. So I'm going to say that. And going over to you, Michael, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Mark. What were your takeaways on the offensive side of the ball for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I mean, positives were, the running game. I thought the running game was, point of emphasis last night, and they did a great job of establishing the ground game. I liked seeing, Mike James get in there and show what he can do, and he's a pretty talented back, and got to see Charles Sims. I thought he had some good runs. In the offensive line, I thought did a pretty good job moving the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive line, which is pretty talented. As far as Jameis goes, I was kind of disappointed. I want to see him make those throws that are just routine throws. You start the game off to Vincent Jackson, you got to make that throw. I mean, that's an easy first down. He's got to set his feet and deliver the football there. But I agree with Mark what he said as far as he was doing the little things to win the game, which was impressive to see. Running, getting first downs, trying to run the football. And just making smart decisions as far as little things goes, at the line of scrimmage, making sure blitz protection was there. That was encouraging to see. But overall, still a lot of work to do. I thought the run game was good, though. That was a positive, especially from last night.
All right. And basically my takeaways were I thought Austin Seferian-Jenkins put in work last night. I was very excited to see that. He's 100% healthy. Yeah. Another guy that I'm glad to see back on the field is Charles Sims with that ankle injury, which was kind of concerning. But I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are being smart. They held him out from that game, which gave him a chance to kind of rest that ankle, and hopefully we will see him back in there. Erring on the side of caution is great. We didn't see Doug Martin, but we didn't really need to see Doug Martin, and it gave him a chance to rest those bruised ribs. So I really think that, the coaches are doing the right thing by the players in resting them and not putting them out there to where they could get further injured. Now, folks, I do want to talk about the elephant in the room when we do talk about these, and I guess it kind of leans into special teams a little bit. You know what? I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold off on that. I'm not going to say but I was, but I'm not right now. I'm just going to kind of go back to what I was talking about with the offense. Cameron Brate. Cameron Brate has to make those catches. And I think if we can get him and Austin Safarian Jenkins on the same page, it could be something. They're two dynamic players. I think that when their game is on, they play good. You saw a lot of plays that Cameron Brate made last year in the absence of Austin Safarian Jenkins. So that's another thing that we can also look forward to. The main thing that I saw as a positive that I really loved is the continuity I'm starting to see with Mike Evans and Jameis Winston. Mike Evans, I really feel like the injury last year held him back a little bit from where he should be, and I think that he's going to have a monster year this year. And maybe, I might be wrong, but I'm going to go on record saying that I believe he's going to have a monster year. So what I'm going to do is go back through and see if you have any final thoughts on the offense before we jump over to defense.
All right, I'll start off this.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so on offense, one of the biggest things I'm really comfortable with is the O-line. The offensive line looked really good. Obviously, they paved the way for the running game. But if J.R. Sweezy can't make it back, I'm 100% comfortable with Kevin Panfield. Malik Jackson, their big signing from Denver, the 6'6", 290. He's a big man. Panfield had his way with him sometimes. He in the running game, he had a good push on that guy. That's a big man. That's a lot of mass to be pushing. I mean, I'm very comfortable with the running game with Kevin Panfield. So that's not a worry of me. So that's a good thing to have. And same thing with Dotson and Churliss. Those two are really, really good. Like, Churliss is an aggressive man. He doesn't even think he's the backup. He thinks he's a starter. Like, playing in the second, third quarter, he was playing like he's number one. Like, I really like that out of him. And
there was one play against I think it was the Colts last year, and Gosford Churliss was actually following Jameis Winston. I think it was a long run by Jameis Winston. He was like the second person in the end zone, running. That's just how fast he is. It's just deception. His speed is deceptive to where you're like, wow, this guy is this big and he can move like this. It's just crazy. So I'm right there with you. I think that the O-line is something to be excited about. I know I've heard some fans on Twitter, because I get out there, I listen to what people are saying, and they feel like that there is concern at the O-line, but I'm not too worried. I think what it's going to come down to is continuity and your O-line gelling, and I think that's going to happen. And what's fortunate for us is our head coach was our offensive coordinator. So in the transition for our core players, it's not much of a problem, and I think that that's going to work to our advantage this year.
Oh, definitely. I love the O-line. I'll give you that. Like, Marpet looks just as good as last year, even better.
Yeah.
He doesn't get beat often. Donovan Smith still looking the same, like consistent. I mean, he's going to have a little bit of trouble with speed rushers, but I'm confident in him. He's going to keep Winston safe.
So just while we're talking about that, we go back to Kevin Panfield. I'm going to ask both of you, why has he not gotten playing time when he's gotten on the field and produced?
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, it's been unfortunate circumstance. I mean, you had Logan Mankins last year, last 2 years. Right tackle, you had Dotson. And then left tackle, I believe we had Donald Penn, we had Anthony Collins, who was a bust. But yeah, it's just been circumstances. But I think the guy has come along. And again, he's a fifth-round pick, so he's developed and he's done a good job as far as being that extra lineman last year, and now he's getting his opportunity. And I think if he keeps playing the way he is, I mean, I think they'll keep Sweezy on the bench as long as he's doing good. So I think, again, it's just a credit to Jason Light and his staff to find, guys late in the draft.
And that's not saying Sweezy's not good. I mean, everyone's seen the mauling Sweezy's been doing. It's just that we haven't seen him yet. So it's, what have you done for me lately? Like, Panfield's really mauling people right now. So until Sweezy's healthy, let him rest. Let him get his time that he needs. Let Panfield do his thing. Like, it's not anything against Sweezy. Sweezy's a monster from what we've seen, but I just want to see it when he's actually healthy.
Yeah. And, a lot of people are talking about Kenny Bell and how he may get released or he may get I think that's crazy. This is Kenny Bell's first season playing. He's healthy. They shut him down last season. How many times? How many practices did he play before he was injured? Do you remember?
He played the first preseason game, and that was about it. But
yeah,
I mean, he was going through training camp, but then I think the couple games after preseason he got hurt.
Right.
Just unfortunate.
Yeah, and what people need to understand is, I mean, you can get only so many mental reps, and that's only going to take you so far. You have to physically get up there and get in with game speed, standing, the nuances of playing wide receiver. So, and keep in mind too, he's a 5th-round pick. So yeah, people are talking about him like he should have been a 1st or 2nd-round pick, but the guy was a 5th-round pick. I mean, it may take a little. This may be work in progress, but I see flashes with him, and he's one of those players. I think that over time he will develop into that player.
All right, Gene, I respectfully disagree.
Okay, that's what we do, man. That's what we do.
I mean, like, he had his whole year. He came out saying, "Oh, he's ready. He's got the playbook down. He's like got the mental game down. Everything's he's set in stone." He was had a whole year off season to get bigger, get stronger, get faster. There was his healing process, and then everything getting back in the game. But I haven't seen anything. Like, there was a play yesterday where he had a touchdown in his hands, and he let the corner just pop it out of his hands. So you can't, if you want to make the team, you're not even promised a spot in the team. What are you doing letting him pop that out? You secure that. He has his feet in his hands. He let it go. So Kenny Bell, I love him. He's a team player. I love the way he talks. I love his mentality and how he seems close with Winston and everything. But if you can't produce on the field, you're not going to make it.
You know what?
It doesn't matter how nice you are.
I 100% agree with that. That's a true statement right there. I'm just looking at things, realistically, he's no different than a rookie receiver, in my opinion. He's just been able to be on the sidelines with the clipboard, whereas he hasn't been out there physically playing. And, I mean, just to me, I feel like if he had that year behind him, we would be within reason to say, hey, this guy, we should have higher expectations for this guy. And yeah, you're right. He's had all last year and all the off season to get bigger and stuff. But I just, and you listen to Dirk Cutter talk about him, and time will tell if that was a good pick or not. But he's one of those guys we'll just kind of have to wait and see how he does if he makes it to the 53-man roster, or if not, if he ends up on the practice squad, how does he come back from that if that's the case? But like I said, I think that he's going to require a little bit more time. He's one of those players one of those raw players, basically.
I hope he shuts me up. I hope I have to put soap in my mouth while saying it.
You're on point, but you're on point with what you're saying, yeah. But, that's just kind of how I see him, as that guy that he's behind the 8 ball, kind of like Mike Evans was behind the 8 ball last year, missing those games, and I think he never was able to get back on track, and his season was kind of disappointing, and it could have been a better season with all the yards he left on the field with drop passes.
No, but still, he put up big numbers. I mean, he didn't get the touchdowns, but he got more yards.
But you can't compare a Kenny Bell to Mike Evans. There's just no way.
5th and 1st round.
No.
No, you're right. It's just that, I mean, the guy has all the speed in the world. He ran a 4.3, like a high 4.3. So I mean, he's got the speed. He has the separation, but it's in shorts he does that with.
Yeah.
When the pads come on, it's a lot different. A lot of people say that. I mean.
Yeah. And when you look at that, you look at Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson, our starters, and it's just such a big drop-off after that. I mean, nobody has distanced themselves from the rest of the pack and the wide receiver position to say, hey, I'm taking this job, it's going to be mine. Nobody's really stood out consistently. You see flash plays, but you're not seeing consistent plays. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
Would you guys agree? I mean, would you guys agree with that?
yeah. Let me just say this. Jason Light is looking at receivers right now. He's looking at other teams, and I expect him to pick up at least one or two receivers off waiver wire, off of cuts from other teams. The point is Kenny Bell. Yeah, I mean he's fifth round pick, rookie. Hasn't played much, but still you got to go out there and produce. Again, it depends who he's playing with. I know he's playing with Mike Glennon, and sometimes Glennon's not finding him if he's getting open. But again, I think Jason Light is hoping that Lewis Murphy comes back soon. He's going to be looking for receivers coming up here shortly in the next couple of weeks, I believe. And I think he's already knows that he's drafting a receiver next year because the receiver class for next year is really strong. So.
Yeah, I just started doing my homework after we talked about that last week. I started doing my homework, and that's something that I'm really going to be keeping an eye on is the receiver class coming up for the next
very
draft.
Strong, very strong.
All right, guys. So we talked about the offensive side of the ball. I want to jump over to defense. And Mark, I'm going to start with, or I'm going to start with Mark. Mike, I'm going to start with you this time. And
Okay.
Give me your thoughts on the defense? And we're going to save Vernon Hargraves for last, but everybody for Vernon. How's that?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, defensively, you could tell right away how much they missed Gerald McCoy. The pass rush was just not the same as it was against the Eagles. I'm concerned about the red zone defense. I want to see better production from there. 3 trips in the red zone so far. They've allowed 3 touchdowns. So you would like to get that cleaned up. Again, it's preseason, so I'm not going to panic. You don't want to overreact to that. Again, there's no scheming or no game plan. As far as certain guys, I thought the usual guys stood out. Noah Spence, I thought linebackers as far as Levante and Quan, they were in good position. I thought throughout most of the game. I thought Devontae Bond, he got more playing time. I thought he did some good things. Again, Luke Rhodes always impresses me. I think he was another standout. He's the lock, I think, to make this team as the backup middle linebacker. Secondary, I thought, Brent Grimes, he had a couple of splash plays, but to be honest, I'm really concerned about our safeties. I thought our safeties too many times were out of position. On the touchdown pass to Hearns, where was Chris Conte? I mean, what was he doing? He was kind of lost out there in no man's land, and that's his zone there. He's got to be back there to help out Grimes. I know Grimes got beat, but still, you got to be in better position. McDougal has been kind of invisible, and I thought Ryan Smith stood out to me. I think he's going to be a guy as the season goes on. I think he's going to get more playing time. He's still young as far as his mental game, as far as the plays. Mark wrote a story today about Ryan Smith, and I think he's going to be a guy that is going to get in there. The guy just has speed and playmaking ability.
It's interesting because we talked about him at the draft and how you both thought that this guy would be that guy that would make this team, and he has such versatility. And folks, please, if you get a chance, check out Real Bucs Talk. These guys do know what they're talking about. I can attest to that. Just if you would have been in the text messages that we were doing during the draft, they were calling things that I was looking a different direction, but they were pretty much on point with what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were trying to do. So please, get a chance, check out Real Bucs Talk. You can go all the way back prior to the draft, and you can learn about players that that they've been talking about. So, Mark, I'm going to go to you now and ask you the same question. What do you think about the defense, and how do you think they did?
All right, for one, I want to jump on the safeties, the problem with the safeties. Okay, I agree with them. Yeah, the safeties are weaker. It's probably the weakest position on the defense. Like the corners got a huge burst of talent with Hargraves and Grimes, and the linebackers. I love all the linebackers. Not to mention all the young ones. He mentioned Rhodes, Devontae Bond. I always also like Micah Awe, or however you say that name, but he's another talented young guy that no one talks about. I like him a lot. But in the safeties, Chris Conti, everyone's giving him all this flap about, oh, where was he on that Hearns touchdown? I mean, you got to give some credit to Blake Bortles on that one. He was looking totally the opposite way before he threw that ball. He looked all the way left. Conti followed his eyes. So if anything, yes, a veteran may have not followed the quarterback's eyes, but, I mean, it's preseason. You're going to jump the first route. If they did that against Mariota the first game last year, we'd be intercepting every damn pass. But that's just me. But, I mean, Conti, he made a read. He went with his read. Blake Bortles did the smarter thing and went last second over the top to Hearns. Grimes tried to make a hell of a play, but, I mean, that's football. I mean, you're going to win, you're going to lose. So I can't fully blame Conti. I mean, that was just a good play by a good player. I mean, Bortles is turning into something special. He had a hell of a year last year. He's going to have a good year this year, I think.
Yeah, but I agree that he dropped a biscuit in the basket on that one because it was just right. It was right up there, and it dropped
Grimes,
right. And
Grimes did that jump.
I honestly don't think there was a way to that you could have defended that unless you were like right on top of the receiver.
Oh yeah, I mean Grimes defended it nicely. I mean he was right there to make it an inch above his finger, if that. I mean he has that vertical leap where he can swat away, and he showed that against Robinson earlier in the game.
Yeah,
flying out like in this preseason, like he's letting it all out. He's an athletic freak. I mean Conti made a read. You want him to go full blast. You can't expect him to be everywhere at all times. He's on an island. He's deciding left or right.
Yeah.
He chose one way. You can't get mad at him. People need to calm down on how much flap they're giving him. I mean, but to go on about the defense, Noah Spence, wow, like this guy, he's what the Bucs have been needing for years. Like he made Jokel look silly on some plays. Like he just his like shoulder shake gets these tackles like on ice. Like it's like funny to watch. Like I was watching the game just earlier, and like he literally just a shimmy one way, has his 300-pounder laying one way, and he just flies all the way inside. He's dirty. He's gonna make a lot of good plays this year, and you can just tell like the difference between him and other people. Like he should have been a first pick. We're lucky we got him at where we got him. Like he's only going to get better. He seems like he has his head on straight. He's not thinking anything else besides dominating football. And I'm very, very like pleased with everything I'm seeing so far with Noah Spence.
All right. Anybody else? Anything else that stood out to you?
I would say Howard Jones again showed up.
Really?
Yeah, sorry. I thought Howard Jones. Again, he was showing flashes again, and I thought he could have had a sack. I think he was trying to go for the big play there, with a strip fumble.
Yeah.
But but he flashes every time. I just love the guy. I thought Keith Tandy was doing good things. He's a valuable player. I'm trying to think who else. Again, the linebackers, Luke Rhodes. I just love the guy. Very smart football player. Very good instincts. Trying to think who else. Travis Britz, another guy that I thought did well. Four-string defensive tackle, but he did very good. But overall, I thought, the second and the third teams did very good. After Jacksonville got the 14 points, we pretty much shut down the Jacksonville's offense, even though, it's reserved, but pretty much shut them down. And I think we held them under 100 yards the rest of the game. So hats off to the second and third team defense.
Now, you know what, and maybe I'm wrong here. I've been trying to be as reserved as possible about this. You can tell these players are a lot more disciplined in their play than what we were seeing last year. People are playing in their assignments. People are not they're not looking confused. And to me that's exciting. It's something that makes me look forward to the regular season so we can get this going. And
Mm-hmm.
my guy's always been Howard Jones. I've really liked him. I liked him last year, and I was impressed. And I said that he's going to do big things this year, and I stand by that. Just watching him play, he's making the most out of the time he's getting, and coaches
Mm-hmm.
are noticing this. You can't help. Film don't lie. You can't help but look at film on this guy and see what he's doing when he's given the opportunity. So that's a guy that I'm looking forward to watching, along with Brent Grimes. Brent Grimes has
Mm-hmm.
always been one of my favorites. When he was in Atlanta, I hated him. I hated him when we had to play him, but he was fun to watch any other time. When he's
Yeah.
picking Josh Freeman off all the time, and that just made me sick to my stomach. But you can't help but see how talented this guy was, and then what he went and did in Miami, reviving his career in Miami, going to the Pro Bowl. I mean, just says so much about this guy and his abilities, and you can see that in his practices. I mean, you're not questioning if somebody's going to unseat Brent Grimes this season. That's not even a thought.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you have with this guy. Another guy that kind of stood out was Jonathan Banks. Jonathan Banks had some nice plays. He had some nice plays away from the ball, and I thought overall he had a good game this game against Jacksonville. So those were my guys, and the man of the hour. We can all talk about him now. Our number one pick, Vernon Hargreaves. Mike, I'm gonna start with you. Give me your thoughts on what you've seen over these past couple of games with him.
I mean, the guy's he's the real deal. I mean, he's very smart, very intelligent football player. I mean, that first interception, that was just perfect. Reading the quarterback and just plucking that ball out of the air. I mean, that's what he does. I mean, the guy's a playmaker, and he just has great footwork. I mean, his technique is just always on point. Very consistent player, and he's just going to keep getting better. I think he had a couple missed tackles on the run, but that's nothing to worry about. The guy's a very good tackler. But yeah, just a great game. And then the second interception, I mean, that was perfect playing the receiver and taking the ball at the highest point. I mean, I can't say enough about the kid.
Yeah. And Mark, I want to get your thoughts on Vernon Hargreaves. What do you think? What are your thoughts on him, having seen him through 2 preseason games?
Oh, he's the first pick. I mean, he was worthy of that 9th pick. We shouldn't even have to trade down, but good thing by Light thinking that he would fall, but extremely smart, jumping about what Mike said. Like, he has plays where he's at like the linebacker level, and he drops back and covers a receiver in like the safety level. He knows where he's at. Like, he knows who's around him at what point. Like, he just feels it. He doesn't have to look. Like, I love that about him. He knows exactly where he's at in the middle of the game. Like, he doesn't. It's all feel for him. That's what you need to have in a dominant corner like that. And I think just his quickness, short speed, like short area quickness, is what the Bucs really loved about him. Like, because that's Brent Grimes. He is literally Brent Grimes in his prime. That's what he is. Like, he has the vertical leap. He has the quickness in short areas. He has the ball like jumping up to the highest point. He has all that, but he's just still learning. But he's ready. He's looking good. Like, to me, he's top 2. Like, he's pushing Vernon right now for me. Like, that's just I wrote about it today. Like, he's not maybe just looking for nickel. He's looking to push Vernon. Verner's playing pretty good. He's just not making 2 interceptions in one game, 2 passes defense, one game. Like, he's playing good, but he's not putting up the numbers like Hargreaves is right now.
Yeah, and guys, I'm gonna publicly apologize because I was kind of iffy about this pick. Having watched his game film at Florida and seeing how he would get beat on a double move a lot, and somebody kind of pulled me aside and said, "Hey, those are things that are coachable." And seeing his ball instincts right now and his footwork, how he's adjusted to the speed of the NFL this fast is amazing. And that's one thing that I'm excited about right there is seeing this guy and not having to be like remember when Tim Jennings would walk on the field last year and you're like, somebody pass me the whiskey and a couple of shot glasses, get them over here, 'cause we don't know how this is going to go. And that's kind of how I felt. But with this secondary right now, I feel like, you know what? This is not going to be the problem here. As long as as long as the defensive line is doing their thing and getting to the quarterback, as long as they're getting pressure on the quarterback, I feel that whoever we have in the secondary, whether it's Werner, whether it's Grimes, whether it's Vernon Hargraves, I think that we're in a good place that we can stop the play. And I kind of didn't really get to touch on this on defense, but we got to get them 3 and out. We got to get them off the field. We got to get the ball back to the offense. Get our offense in decent field position. That's what killed us last year. Was just the number of times that the opposing offense was able to convert. They were able to stay on the ball. They were able to keep the defense on the field longer. They were able to drive down the field and eventually score, whether it's 3 or 7 points. Those are points. So I'm happy that Mike Smith is here. I'm liking the discipline that I'm seeing from this defense, and it's going to take time, but it's going to happen. I see that. And, just the players that they've brought in that has really kind of increased what this team is capable of doing. There wasn't a lot of turnover on defense, but what they've brought in has really been nothing but upgrades so far on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I keep saying it. John Hoke is our secondary coach. He is one hell of a coach. He coached at Florida. He's coached with the Bears. That guy is really good. And then you bring in Brett Maxey from Tennessee Titans, who's another great coach who helped Alteron Werner to a Pro Bowl. I've been saying it, better coaching is going to help this secondary, and we're already seeing that. Just look at the Hargreaves first interception. That is just perfect how you're supposed to play it. He's backpedaling, keeping eyes on the quarterback while staying with his guys at the same time, and just makes a great play on the football. It's gonna be better all around because we have guys, as far as coaches, that know, what these guys. Yeah, exactly. What these guys need to do and being in the right position to make plays. Jay Hayes, he's going to bring great things to this defensive line, and you can already tell how, guys like William Golston and, Jack Smith are already getting better as far as their technique, and it's just going to be good things coming for the defense.
Yeah, case in point, Philadelphia. Vernon Hargraves should have had that interception. He took a bad jump on the ball. This time, he came up with 2. Just continually learning. These guys, and you guys talked about this. I think when had you on BucWhatYaHeard, you guys said that what Jason Licht is looking for when he's drafting these guys is having it from the neck up. Guys that are able to get out there and having defensive and offensive coordinators on the field that can look at the play and know how to work it to where it works for them. So just things like that, I'm really excited about, when you talk about coaching. Mark, your thoughts?
Yeah, a couple points. What you were saying about from the neck up. All these fans wanting Carlos Williams. Oh, jump the gun. He's talented. Get him on the Bucs. Get him now. He's a head case. Obviously, he got cut for a reason because he's gained weight and he's not showing his dedication to the game. Jason Licht doesn't want that. No. Jason Licht wants someone who's going to be a Buccaneer man. They always say they want the Buck way, Buccaneer man. That's a mindset. That's not someone that's wanting to gain weight. Oh, we'll see. When the season comes back, I'll get back into it. No, football is your career. You got to make it a big deal. This is $1 million business, $1 billion business. What are you talking about? You can't sit there and be like, oh, maybe I'll get in shape next week. No, that's why I like Ryan Smith. That's why I wrote about him today. His mindset, it's there. It's he's getting better every day. He wants to get better. He feels like he's playing faster, getting there. He's not there yet. He's being real with it. He's not there, but he's going to get there. He knows what he wants to get, and he's going to go for it. Like Carlos Williams, obviously he's like, oh, I know when I get it once I'm on the field, but once I'm off the field, I don't know if I want it or not. Like, the Bucs aren't going to want that. Jason Light's not looking for that. I mean, that's just one thing I wanted to say to fans. I mean, that's not a Buccaneer man,
just
in my
being
opinion.
patient. And, like Michael, like you keep saying, the roster is fluid. We don't know what the final roster is going to look like. I stopped looking at it. I looked at it the first time they put it out. I haven't looked at it since. Because you know what? It's going to change again. So why even bother with it? Guys, I want to ask you, who are guys that you feel are on the bubble but do have a chance to make this team? Give me 3 guys. I'm going to start with you, Mark. Give me 3 guys that you feel like are on the bubble, but their play has put them in a position where they can possibly make this team.
On the bubble. Okay, so let's you're throwing me on the spot here. Come on now, Gene. But I'll say number one.
You're the pro, man. I'm just a rookie here,
Okay, so number one is a guy we all 3 of us love, Howard Jones. You got to admit, like, we're loaded at defensive end right now. We have William Golson, who they're not thinking about cutting him. You got Jacquez Smith. They're not thinking about cutting him. Noah Spence, you definitely ain't going to cut him. Howard Jones is the 4th man, maybe even the 5th man. You got talent, all that. Robert Ayers, what am I thinking about? He's another guy that really showed he's big. He's a really good veteran. He's another 4th guy. So Howard Jones is the 5th guy. But he's playing. He's going to make the team. No matter, in my mind, you have to have Howard Jones on this team. You can't let that talent go. He's a freak with long arms, speed. He's got to be there. He's a guy that's going to get to the quarterback. That's my number one.
Out of this world.
He's got a what?
He's got moves out of this world too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Like he's one of my favorite on the team. I mean, without a doubt. One that Mike was talking about, Luke Rhodes. Like, there's no one else that can. He's an undrafted free agent. He needs to make this team though, based on his play. He had a sack last night. He had 4 tackles, a forced fumble the first game. I think it was 5 tackles actually. But he's all over the place. Like he's a muscle man. Based purely on that, he needs to make the team. But his production on the field also matters. That's 2. 3. Who's made it? I mean, I think yet again, Adele Shepard. I love that guy. Like he had a touchdown in the first game. He's Russell. What am I talking about? Yeah. Russell Shepard. I'm thinking way back when. Russell Shepard. He deserves to still be on the team. I know he's probably going to be number 53, but he's a dependable hands. He's special teams ace. He needs to be on this team. He's heart and soul a Buccaneer man. I think that's what I think.
Yeah.
Good, Mike.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, Michael, your turn. You've had a chance to think about it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll go with receivers. I mean, I think after Evans, Jackson's, and Humphreys, I think all the receivers are pretty much on the bubble. I think they gotta be there. Someone's got to step up and make some plays. I think it's safe to assume Russell Shepard is going to make the team. I think he's going to be the 4th receiver. He's the special teams captain. But I'm looking at guys like Dante Dye, who I thought did pretty well. I thought he kind of showed some things on the return game, but he's got to be more consistent. He had a couple drops last night. Evan Spencer. I think the Bucs are really hoping Louis Murphy gets back soon because they miss that guy. He brings a different element to this offense. But yeah, I mean everybody. Jonathan Krause, he's made some plays in training camp, but again, it just goes back to consistency.
Put a guy like that on the practice squad?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, again, and Kenny Bell. I mean, Kenny Bell's probably the big topic too, and I don't think he's safe either. I think he could be. I mean, right now he's not looking good. And then I would look at the running back position. I think Peyton Barber is an interesting guy. I think he has a chance to maybe make this team. I still like Mike James, but depending on how many running backs they want to keep, I think they'll probably only keep 3. I'm trying to think of other guys. I was going to say tight ends, but
yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Tight ends was loaded.
Yeah, tight ends is loaded. They possibly could keep
somebody like a Brandon Myers.
Yeah, Brandon Myers, I think, is going to make the team, though. I think he's going to be on this team. I think just the way they use three tight end sets, and Luke Stalker and Vitale are kind of the hybrids at fullback.
Hmm.
So, that's a position in itself. Um, and then on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, obviously Jonathan Banks is in question. Um, and then I think linebackers is pretty much set. I like Luke Rhodes at backup middle linebacker. I think Darius Glanton is going to make the other spot, and then they're going to have
And
Devontae
going back,
Bond.
just a quick question, kind of going back to Jonathan Banks. Do
Yeah.
you feel like Jonathan Banks can fit in this system? I don't. We don't really know what the system
No.
is. You may have seen it during practice, but as far
Hmm.
as what Mike Smith is trying to do, does a
Hmm.
Jonathan Banks fit into that system?
No. He doesn't have the right skill set because you look at the guys they added this offseason. It's all about short area quickness, speed, making plays on the ball, jumping routes. I think Banks could be a pretty good safety, but I just think his skill set is more suited where he's allowed to play press man, use his physicality, and jam receivers at the line of scrimmage. But in this defense, the corners are asked to play a lot of off-man coverage, so they can react to the quarterback and make plays on the ball. And unfortunately, Banks, that's just not his kind of style. So I think that's why he's kind of the odd man looking in.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
No, I
and
agree
this
with
is
Mike.
this is a contract season for him, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you going to say, Mark?
No, I agree with Mike. I mean, like, I love the guy. I mean, I like the
Hmm.
pick, even though he's a slow corner. But that's the thing. Like, he's
Hmm.
a 4.69 corner. Like, ran 40,
Hmm.
4.69. I mean, he's rangy. He has length. He can put up with like the taller receivers. But once it comes to jumping routes, keeping up with them deep, I mean,
Hmm.
he's not going to be there. I mean, he can't do like Mike Smith says. He wants players that are multiple. I mean,
Hmm.
Jonathan Banks, he's in this system. He's a safety. Like
Hmm.
he can't play corner and safety. Like he
Hmm.
doesn't have the quickness to do that. He can't cover as
Hmm.
much space as everyone else can on this team. I mean,
Right.
I give it to him. I like him. He's hell like I loved him when he was with Shiano, and
Hmm.
Does he fit
last
in?
year I thought he should have had more chances. But he's just in
Hmm.
this scheme in this system. I don't think he can be in the system. I just don't think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
that
could
makes
see him
perfect
be. I,
sense.
yeah. I could see him being traded. Coming up here shortly.
All right, and I kind of tried to touch on it to begin with, but I saved the best for last. Robert Arguello. And Mark, I'm going to start with you. That's all I'm going to say. The floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, I'll say this. Yes, every time he misses, I'm just like everyone else, like, what the hell's wrong? Like, aren't you like 88% all the time? I was expecting like perfect every time, but
Hmm.
it's preseason. Let's give him some credit.
Yes.
Like Winston said, he's teasing everyone. I mean,
Hmm.
let him. It's preseason. Let's just calm down, not worry so much. Like, there is a point where you got to start worrying, but even Cutter's getting
Hmm.
upset. It's preseason, but I mean, I believe he's one of those. He's an odd kicker. Let's put it this way: like he's not quiet. He's extremely confident in his game, and he knows. He's one of those that seems to me like he knows what he has to critique. He knows what he has to
Hmm.
fix. He knows what
Hmm.
he has to do to be that 88% in college accuracy.
Right.
Like those little things, I think he feels he knows what he's going to do, and he's going to fix it. I mean, if Winston has the confidence in him, he sounds like he has the confidence in himself. Like I think he's going to correct it and make it adjustments and be when the lights come on type of player. Like when it's
Hmm.
preseason, he's like, okay, well, I'm going to try and make it, but I mean, I don't like that mentality. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I'm hoping he makes every kick from now on. Let's put it that way. But I mean, I'm not that worried yet. Not that worried yet.
All right. Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I would just go off what Mark said. I mean, it's preseason. I mean, you can tell Cutter's getting kind of a little frustrated. He's got to make the kicks, and Cutter said it last night. He knows. Aguayo knows this, and it is what it is right now. But I mean, I think he's got the right mindset, like we said, like I was telling you earlier, Gene. The kid has the mental game, and he's not going to let this phase him. He's going to find a way to get it better and get it fixed. Again, they're switching holders in and out too. That's another thing, because kicking is all about timing, and you got to have that timing set with your holder. And that's, once you get that consistency down, that's something that can help a kicker. Not saying that, you can't take that as an excuse. He's got to make the kicks. I mean, the guys are holding it, they're putting it down. You got to make them. But again, it's preseason, so I'm not going to worry right now.
Winning covers a multitude of sins. And I believe that, once we get into the regular season, if there are games that he can win, he can help us win, that's going to change a whole lot of it. I feel like, he's got a couple more games. He's got practices to get his head right. And, yeah, mentally, this can affect somebody. And I'm hoping that he can get himself out of it and put himself in a position because, when it came to the extra points after he missed, he came through with that extra point, and he can make those kicks, and from what everybody's telling me from long distances, so it's just a matter of him getting his head right and and just getting out there and making the kicks. I'm not stressing about it. It's frustrating because you have so many people that are griping about it, and you have to keep I don't like engaging people about this because you know what? We have him. That's our kicker. At the end of the day, we drafted him. He's our guy. Yeah. So you either get behind him or you don't get behind him. And as far as I'm concerned, until they get rid of him, hey, he's our guy. So I'm just hoping that this guy can get out there, win some games, and get the fans back on his bandwagon so I don't have to answer these kind of questions anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Fully agree.
All right. Well, guys, I got one more section that I really wanted to touch on, and that's the grades. So what I want you guys to do is think about this. I'm going to go first, so I'm not going to put you on the spot anymore today. I promise. I'm going to go first, and we're going to grade the offense, and I'm just going to combine it because we don't really have enough time to get that deep into it. But the offense, the defense, and special teams. And I'm going to go first. I'm going to give the offense a B, a low B or C. I'm going to give him a C, to be honest, because there were plays that should have been made. You don't want to depend on your kicker in the red zone. You want 7 points. You want to walk off the field and get your kicker out there to get that extra point, but you want that touchdown. That's what you want, and that's kind of what I'm frustrated with because we have the weapons to kill people in the red zone. We should be doing that. I realize that Doug Martin was not in the game. That's not an excuse because these other players really have to step up and do what they need to do. It was nice to see the Winston Evans connection on that touchdown. So, that was a plus right there that they're building that continuity together. So I'm excited about that. That's something to be excited about. Austin Seferian-Jenkins is not sitting around pouting. He's out there playing. He's making people understand that there's a reason that he was drafted where he was drafted. So I'm really hoping that he can consistently get better and stand out and help us win some games. So with all that happened, Mike Glennon kind of disappointed me. I feel like he's regressing a little bit on some of his decision-making. Some of his passes were decent, but just some of his decision-making it's just kind of frustrating at times. So for me, I gave him a C. I was going to give him a B, but I thought about it more and more, and I'm going to give him a C. And, hopefully you can get some wide receivers that are willing to stand out amongst everybody else and prove that they're the people that need to be looked at for making this team. So with that, I'm going to go over to defense. Defense, I'm going to give them a B. I thought that I would give them an A, but there were some touchdowns that, the those touchdowns that were given up, just can't have it. So, especially the one to Yeldon, the pass to Yeldon should have never happened. I think they got caught out of position from what I remember on that play. But it's one of those things they just, that's something you have to improve on because Carolina will eat you alive with that every single time. The Raiders, the Chiefs, the Denver Broncos, the Dallas Cowboys, other teams that we're going to face this year will take full advantage of a scenario like that. So we have to get better in that red zone on defense to hold them to a 3 points or at least get the ball off the field and get our offense back out there. So, there's a lot of work to be done on both sides of the ball, but, I will go ahead and do that. Special teams, I'm going to give them a C, and I'm being generous. It should be a D with the kicks that Arguello missed, but I thought they did a good job on kick returns. I thought they did a real good job on protection. Keeping the kick returner from breaking one. So I really thought that special teams outside of the missed kicks, they did a decent job to keep Jacksonville from scoring or getting in a decent position to score. So, Michael, I'm going to start with you, and let's get your grades on what you think.
It's preseason.
Yeah.
Humor me. Just humor me this one time.
No, I'll go ahead. Offense. Offense, I'll give a C. I'll probably go just C across the board.
I was going to say the same thing.
Because it's preseason. Again, we're not scheming. We're not game planning. You're looking at so many players, 85 players. You're looking at, and the main thing of this is evaluation. The scoreboard doesn't matter. Again, you like to see better execution. You like to see better play in the red zone. But again, we're not scheming. We're not seeing the whole offense. We're not seeing, the disguises and the, different looks on defense as far as blitz packages, different coverages that way. Again, so I would give it a C. C across the board. I'm glad we won last night. That's good. We're not going to go 0-4, so that's good. But yeah, it's preseason. That's all I have to say about that.
All right, Mark, I know you're going to give me all C's here. Oh yeah, all C's, all day. But you gotta look at it. The offense, the running game's looking good, the offensive line's looking good, but the passing game's looking bad. So there's a good and a bad. You're evening them out. So it's C. Defense, yeah, we look really good at times, but we're allowing easy points in the red zone. You gotta bend but don't break. What's going on there? That's C again. Push. Special teams, a whole lot of question marks. Who's the returner? Aguayo, start making your kicks. I know it's preseason, but still, start making the kicks. So I'm luckily giving you a C because we don't even have a returner. I don't know who's going to return punts or kicks. So
I thought Humphreys looked good.
Humphreys, he's all right, but Dante Dye looked the best, but I don't even know if he's going to make a team. So
exactly.
I don't know. So I'm saying C's across the board. There's question marks all around, but as Mike said. It's preseason. We're not scheming. We're not doing heavy game planning. We're not taking advantage of the smaller, weaker man that they know they should pick on left and right. They're not doing that. So it's C's across the board. You can't go any higher or lower.
All right. Well, there we go. All right, guys. Well, it's about that time. I want to go through and get your final thoughts. What are you looking for with this game against the Cleveland Browns? I'm concerned about health. I just want to make sure that everybody. I know it's football. Anything can happen, but making sure that our players are getting out healthy. That's my big concern right now for the against the Cleveland Browns. And I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts. What will you guys be looking for with the practice, with especially with RG3, who's got the long ball going? It looks like.
Oh, I'll take it. Like you were saying, don't get injured. Let's not get any injuries here, okay? Like, if you want to sit McCoy again, I'll be more than happy to sit him. Let that ankle rest. RG3, go ahead, throw your bombs all around the place. Like, let's see what Conti and McDougal can do. Let's keep them out there 3 quarters, see if they can do anything. I mean, I'm okay with them staying out that long. I mean, I don't want Grimes out there that long. I don't want Levante or Quan out there that long. But, I mean, let's see what they can do. I mean, I honestly think if it was a real game, we'd win, hands down. But let's see what they really got. I mean, RG3 has who to throw to. You got a rookie and
a converted quarterback.
Yeah, like
Terrell
12. Yeah. I think let's see what we got. I mean, the defense, I think, should shut them up quick. Offense, let's execute some plays. Cameron Brate catching balls. ASJ, start showing that motivation you just got. Like, let's keep catching the balls, keep pushing Brate, start getting those first team reps like you want them. Offensive line, keep doing what you're doing. Push forward. Get that running game going. Make it easier on Winston to get that play action going. I mean, everything to me, like, is doing what preseason's supposed to do. We're seeing the trenches battle. I mean, if the pass doesn't get completed, okay, but it's happening in practice. I've seen plenty of completions in practice. I know what the connection they have there. In the game, okay, well, it's preseason. They're not pushing it. They don't want to get slapped across the face. Okay, I'll believe in that. But I think they're making progress every game, and I think they'll show a little bit more, but I'm not expecting a blowout or anything. It's preseason, like we've been saying. But I like what we're seeing, and I think we're going to see more progression against the Browns.
And Michael, I'm gonna go with you, and then I'll close it out.
I just want to see better execution. As a whole, from the offense, the passing game. I just want to see us get in some rhythm and show some. Just show some consistency as far as offense goes, especially with the passing game. I'd like to see, maybe hit a deep pass, maybe get something going as far as downfield passing game. I know Winston and Evans have been really working on that this offseason, so I'd just like to see a connection there. But just overall consistency, I'd like to see us just execute. This week we're going to do a little bit of game planning just because it's the third week. You're going to play your starters a little bit more. They'll probably play the first half. So I'd just like to see, execution, get in the red zone, put up some points, and then defensively, attack the quarterback, get some pressure on that quarterback, and force some turnovers. But overall, just stay healthy. That's the key. We don't need to see Doug Martin a lot. We don't need to see Gerald McCoy, Vincent Jackson, the big name guys. You can keep them out. So, but just better execution overall is what I'm looking for.
Guys, when Lovie Smith was fired, I wasn't sure how I felt about it because I was worried about consistency. I wanted to have a coach stay in Tampa more than 3 years. And so I was kind of frustrated about that. But I really feel like what Dirk Cutter has shown is that people will be held accountable for what they do. I feel like Jason Licht wants to win now. So they're putting us in a position to where Tampa can win some games and at least be competitive. And that's the most exciting thing out of everything. So to the fans, please be patient. This is going to happen. We've had bad seasons all up till now. I mean, it's getting better. You can see how the play's getting better, and you can see the discipline. We saw that with the turnovers, and we saw that with the penalties as well. So things are starting to turn around, and if you can, when you're watching these games, look at the plays. Don't look at the stats, and see who's making plays, and kind of use that as your guide as you're watching these preseason games. So, guys, thank you very much for being on the podcast. I appreciate it. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, and tell everybody the title of your upcoming articles. I know you can do that. Not to put you on the spot. Mark, I'm going to start with you, Mark. Not to put you on the spot, but let's hear it, man. Let's hear it.
You want to get all the fans over here? Noah Spence. That's going to be the title of every post. Every post, Noah Spence. Everyone loves some Noah Spence, so that's the post right there. But we're at Real Bucs Talk on Twitter. You can follow us on Facebook, Real Bucs Talk, and we're going to be talking Buccaneer news left and right, every preseason game all the way up until the regular season, and we're going to be all in depth, looking at game tape, looking at everything.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Correct, Mike.
Okay, Michael Pless.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Mark said. I got an article coming out tomorrow. It's going to be on the running game. Basically, that's the foundation of this offense. We're built to run the football. It's how our personnel is, and so I'm going to be looking into that. So look for that on our blog page. But yeah, I mean, we're just excited for this season to get going. Bucs fans, I mean, come chat with us. We love to talk Buccaneer football, and we're just excited for the season to get going.
All right. Well, guys, that's it for me. That's all I have. Looking forward to the game Friday at, what time is it, 8 o'clock? Is that 8 o'clock Eastern?
8 p.m., yep.
8 p.m. Eastern, Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Cleveland Browns. This should be a really good game. It should give us a little bit more of an idea of how our team is progressing towards the regular season. So everybody, thanks a lot. I appreciate all the people that commented. Guys, thank you so much for even, watching. Brian Gonzalez, thank you as usual. You're always on there. Amazement 717, thank you for commenting as well, and I appreciate that. So that's pretty much it for me, and I am done.